Welcome to the Georgia Florida Baseball Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Georgia Showcase Baseball and its owner, Coach Ben House. Ben, how we doing?
I'm doing good, Kevin. How are you, man?
Man, I am great. I'm Kevin Perkins, and I am your host for this show. Today's guest, Northwest Florida State head baseball coach Doug Martin. Doug, how we doing?
KP, doing great. Good to see you guys. Good to see you and Ben, man. Been a long time. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man. Thank you. Thank you. After a career that includes coaching at the high school, college, minor league levels, along with the PSC job he had for a while there as an assistant, he took the head coaching job at Northwest Florida Community College. I left out that you were a scout with the Braves organization for a minute. I apologize for that. Took the job at Northwest Florida Community College in 2009. In 2015, he was a national champion. His teams have won 500 games with Doug at the helm, and we are lucky to have him as he is preparing for a run that includes the Junior College World Series this year. Doug, thank you for taking the time to come on and talk to us about stuff today.
Look forward to it. Let's dive in.
Yeah. Today we hope to talk a little bit about the current ball club while diving into the advantages of junior college over four-year schools for some of the students, along with their families, along with some of Doug's philosophies on recruiting, development, and a little bit about the hub of summer travel baseball in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to do all that after this.
This is the Georgia Florida Baseball Show, brought to you by Coach Ben House, with Kevin Perkins from Surrounded by Sports.
Welcome back. Thank you to our sponsor, Arden's Garden, Atlanta's source for juices, smoothies, and plant-based foods. Also, thank you to Showcase Apparel, the fit for your team. Remember to like, subscribe to the Georgia Showcase Baseball YouTube channel, and comment on these videos for a chance to talk to Ben House, as his Showcase Apparel will help you design your own t-shirt for your organization. Doug, let's dive right in a little bit. I want to talk quickly at first about some of the things with the ball club you have now. And you have coached multiple championship teams. This team is a championship team, regardless of what happens in the next couple of games, right? They have one champ. So what do you think are some of the things that define championship teams rather than very good teams?
Playing for one another. Short answer. We've had really good teams here from a talent standpoint a lot of years, and and this team is no different. This team's a talented ball club. We got guys that can do some different things. So you probably say, well, why can't you do it every year? And the answer is, not every year do you get the same kind of commitment from these guys in terms of playing for each other, being part of something bigger than themselves. This team has evolved into that. In junior college, we go all over the place to recruit. And, these guys are only here for a year, maybe two at the most. And so you have a new ball club every single year. And the challenge is to get them to be where their feet are and to, buy into the principles and values of the organization. And it takes time. And this team didn't start off that way. We had our adversity. We had our issues to deal with. And, you just keep plugging away at it. You just keep preaching it. You just keep talking about it. You keep saying that, if you guys want to be what you say you want to be, then this is the things that you're going to have to do it. And, over the course of the season, it kind of evolves into that, especially when you have some success. And, we've had some of that. And so the culture builds as you go. And to the point now where, I don't have to address those things anymore. It kind of takes the players kind of take control of it. And they police themselves. They're holding themselves accountable to each other now. We just given them the weekend off. Today and tomorrow off. We've been playing a lot and everything like that. Well, early in the year and maybe going back to the fall, you'd as a coach, you'd maybe have a little sleepless night just hoping they'd act right and behave when they get their own time and do the right things. I mean, I'm going to still knock on wood when I say this, but I don't think I have to worry so much right now. I think these guys understand that the importance of doing the right things, and they do that and police that themselves now. So that's kind of what is the ingredients to being able to play this late in the season, which is for us to get the opportunity to go to Grand Junction. Flying out there on Wednesday and playing our World Series. So we're excited about it.
Do you find it funny because now with the transfer portal, right? We have all these 4-year schools and all these fans complaining about how, oh, these kids aren't invested. They only come in, they're one-shot deals, they're one-shot. Your whole career has been recruiting guys that are hoping that they can get drafted after 1 year or move somewhere. You built. That's the system that you've been in the whole time is bringing in players every single year and having a new team every year and trying to find continuity. Do you find that interesting that it's a big complaint now?
Yeah, I kid with my 4-year friends, coaches all the time. I said, welcome to the world that we've lived in junior college for all the years we've been coaching, because you're exactly right, KP. It's a deal that these guys come in and they want to use our program as a stepping stone for themselves, and we're certainly fine with that. If they're here for a year and they give us one great year, then that's one great year, and then we go get the next guy. We can use what they've done, their success, and where they may land to recruit the next player. And so, yeah, that's the world we in junior college have lived in from day one. And so, yeah, it's interesting. They're frustrated at that level and all that. I get a chuckle at it and I laugh and I kid when I'm saying, well, you're nothing more than a junior college coach at a 4-year school.
Right. Well, Ben, I mean, you played minor league ball, and that's a very me-oriented thing, but you still have to have buy-in. You still have to be on a team while you're trying to maximize that individual potential, right?
Yeah. Just piggybacking off of what Doug was saying was that, you have a bunch of, in the minor leagues, you have a bunch of talented guys. And their end goal is to get to the big leagues. But sometimes, you get on a team where you got, a bunch of guys that buy into the team oriental part of trying to win that individual championship in the minor leagues. So I understand what Doug is saying, because, a lot of times you have a bunch of talented guys, but they're selfish. So you have to be kind of selfless when you're playing on a ball club with a bunch of talented guys in order to get to where Doug is going now, to the World Series and things like that. So,
right. Baseball is I'm maximizing who I am inside of a group. We talk about that every single week. Coach, talk to us a little bit about your specific university and some of the reasons why you think Niceville and Northwest Florida State College is a great place for a kid to be.
Right. Well, the location's not terrible. We'll start with that. I think there's been a lot of folks that have come down to this area to maybe spend a lot of money, and so for vacation and things, family time and things like that. So when we go after some of these players, we tell them, if we offer them a scholarship, say, hey man, a lot of people come down here and spend thousands of dollars to stay here for a week. We're going to give you thousands of dollars to come here and go to school and play baseball for a year. So location's not terrible. That's number one, I guess. The league that we play in is the best junior college league throughout, I would say, in the country. I would argue that. And the reason is all our teams that are in our league are very good. They all have good coaches. They have good players. have good reputations. And so when recruiters at the higher level, the 4-year level and or professional scouts, when they come in and watch us play and we put up statistics, and baseball is a game of that, right? And so our statistics are they're valid. I mean, they're playing against the best. They're playing against guys who can play. The competition's great. So you have that you sell. The next thing that you sell opportunity. And that really should have been number one. But, in the junior college world, when we recruit players to come play with us, and we sign them to scholarships, we expect them to play right away. We fully expect them to be on the field. And so the opportunity to get on the field and develop and play is as good as it gets. And, look, if a kid's got the chance to go to a 4-year university right out of high school and they truly feel like they're going to be a guy that steps on the field right away and play, then I tell them, go do it, because their opportunities there and the things and the resources they have at these big universities are second to none. But what I always will tell that player and that family, I said, make sure you do your homework, investigate the program. How many freshmen actually are playing? If you're a position player, how many freshmen are getting at bats? If you're a pitcher, how many innings were given out to the freshman pitchers? And, if you do your research and do your homework, you're going to see that group number is fairly small. Not saying they can't do it. I'm certainly not saying that at all, because there are some that really do, and they hit the ground running and they get in there right away. But, in today's landscape of college baseball with the transfer portal and guys are basically free agents at the end of each year, then these 4-year schools are gravitating more towards filling their needs and spots with the older player. And it's just because they're just that. They're older. They're a little bit more mature. They have some college at bats under their belts, or they have some innings they pitched already, and they've got experience. And then sometimes what that does is it just leaves that young freshman who's just getting there, that talented freshman that's just getting there, it leaves them with not the same opportunities. So, that's what our level provides, is opportunity. They have to get on the field right away to play. And the results of that is they continue to develop their game. And then after the year, then they decide, who's out there, who has a need. I'm stronger now. I'm more physical now. I've got more experience now. I've learned this now. So I'm more ready to go in and compete against maybe some of those older players. And our college has always done and has a great reputation of moving our players to the next level. And even now today, some people will argue, well, they're not recruiting the junior college player anymore. That's exactly not right at all. They still are. You just have to you have to show that you're worthy of being recruited. And when you play in a league like ours with the reputation that we have, it's not hard to place the players that are in our league at 4-year schools.
Right. Now, going to the individual also, from the other side of it, some of the advantages there, the full scholarships, things like that. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Our school really values athletics, and scholarship opportunities are different at different junior colleges. They're not all the same. And but ours, like I just said, really values what we do and all of our athletic sports, and they want to give us the opportunities to get, the best players that we can. So our scholarship packages are fantastic. If we go after a player, we can get guys that, basically we can get them and put them on a full scholarship, which includes, the academic part with the tuition and the books, and then the guys got to eat, man. You can't get any better if you don't gain some strength and weight. So I got to eat. We got a cafeteria here on campus that these guys can visit on a daily basis as part of the scholarship. And right now, if people wanted to kind of investigate our program and they go on our website and take a look at who we are and what we're about, they're going to find a section in there on our website that's promoting a brand new housing facility that is going to be just absolutely fantastic for all our athletes. It should be done here within the next year. The foundation's already there, and the frames of the building is there, so it's moving quickly. So we're going to have a brand new facility for our players to live. So, the school wants us to have the best that we can have. And so they're providing the opportunities in terms of facilities, scholarships, resources. So from a financial standpoint, from the family, when there is, at least as we talk today, there's still, no real full scholarship at the 4-year level. Now, I know some do get it. I know they give that. I know because we've had some of our players get them. And I know the NIL deals can help with that. But we still can promote a full scholarship here where, the families are not having to, college is not cheap. Well, right now, nothing's cheap. I mean, nothing's cheap. But certainly college is also part of that, and it's not cheap. But we can certainly make it affordable for families and in that way as well. So that's something else that we can promote, and we certainly do, and the families do enjoy that.
Right, and you had also mentioned to me that the NCAA and the NJCAA don't necessarily acknowledge each other. So a really good ball player that might be draft eligible can sign a letter of intent to a 4-year school, can sign a letter of intent with you, and can wait to be drafted, and he can kind of figure out where he wants to go at the last minute on that. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, you're right. That can happen. And so, first of all, Ben, if there's any of those guys up there that are going to be good draft picks, let me know. I'll go ahead and sign them. I don't care if they are going to 4-year school, let them choose. So we're looking. we need guys like that on our pitching staff, that's for sure. So you can do that. It goes both ways. And what I say with that what I mean with that is that, we've had a couple of players that we signed in the fall, and, they've had really good springs. And so now 4-year schools are trying to, come in there and take some guys late just for insurance or backup plans. And, they can do that. And then what happens is you signed at the junior college level, you signed at the Division I level or 4-year level, and now you're waiting till, the draft rolls around this summer. Let's see where he fits in that. Okay, I get drafted high enough, I get the money I'm looking for. Well, boom, you don't go to college, you go and you go right on into the professional ranks, or you get drafted and maybe it's a round that's, they have 20 rounds now. So maybe it's around 17th, 18th round. Well, that's not going to give you life-changing money. You're going to get a little bonus, and, with taxes and all that, you're going to wind up with too much. But what you say is that, look, I've signed at this university, but I got drafted. I didn't get drafted in a round that's going to give me that kind of money I'm looking for yet, but that draft tells me I'm close. If I go to junior college for a year and I keep developing, and I might turn that 17th round draft pick into a top 5 round draft pick. Who knows? That's happened. And so that's the decision the players have to make. So, yeah, we're always looking for that player. We're still hunting right now, and things really kind of start shaking loose this time of year because the high school season's over. Their statistical season is in the bank now, and seeing how they performed, and also the university seasons are starting to come to an end, so they're getting to see who's who and what's what in terms of what maybe their needs are. And so I would tell that player that's even signed at the university, go and research how they did this year in the position that they play. And if there's a log jam, or if there's a young player that really did really well and, looks like they may be the returning starter, I challenge you, don't go sit. And the baseball is not a sport to go sit. Now, if we're talking football and something like that, and you need to, go in and get a few snaps here, and you can freely change, substitute and everything like that from play to play, that's a different deal. Basketball, same thing. You know, you got free substitutions. But in baseball, other than changing your pitcher out, your position players are your position players. And so there's no need for guys to go sit and watch when they could be on the field gaining experience and learning and getting better, and then moving on with that opportunity to be the starter that they think they should have been to begin with.
Right. Right. Hey, let's slip into we're kind of talking about recruiting in a way anyway, right? So let's talk about, you said you go about recruiting, you earlier in this podcast, you said you nationally, but you also said to me privately, you said you start locally and then you wind up going to the Atlanta area. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Recruiting is a, you know, where it is I tell you, it says everywhere that you go. I truly mean that. I mean, we've had kids from all over the world. Actually, we got a couple of kids right now on our team from Aruba. Last year we had a kid from Australia. So, you know, it's wherever you can go to find the best players that want to play junior college baseball. But we do start locally. You two guys know the local high school area here, and you know, I'm not going to tell you there's any Ben Houses or Kevin Perkins around here right now, but there's still some decent players. And so we start with that. We try to recruit those guys as best we can. But then after that, we branch out. And yeah, we absolutely come up to where Ben is throughout the summer. The travel ball circuit up there is as good as it gets. And, you know, I'll be up there just, I don't know, as soon as I get back from Grand Junction, I think there's a tournament we'll be up there at. But so, you know, what that does, it provides the opportunity for us to go see teams and players that are from really all over the country and that come into Atlanta. And that's, you know, we can drive up there pretty quickly, pretty easily. And, you know, it keeps us from having to go throughout the whole country to find guys when they're right there in Atlanta. And so it's a good opportunity for us. A lot of great tournaments, a lot of really good travel organizations that allow us to go watch baseball players. So we, you know, we really think that's a great area to recruit for sure.
Right. Ben, how crazy is it over the summer right there in Atlanta as you have like the whole world summer perfect game, summer league teams coming in?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I've provided now on the south side of Atlanta is some of the best fields that you know, travel ball can offer. So teams from all over the world, you know, I've partnered with Perfect Game. So all of the World Wood Bats are right here on the south side of Atlanta. So you know, kids and organizations, families can that are on the south side of Atlanta, you know, they don't have to travel up north to play in some of those events. They're right here on the south side of Atlanta. So that's, you know, with recruiters from, you know, like with Doug, you know, you know, they can be in just one central location. You know, they don't have to travel all around the world. When they get in Atlanta, they can just stay in one central location. And that's what we provided here in Atlanta. So, you know, 16, 17, 18-year-olds right here, you're going to get the best of everything. Kids coming from all over the world just to play travel baseball and all of the PG worldwide World Wood Bat events. So that would be great for all coaches from all colleges, pro scouts, right here in Atlanta. You know, we provide that service.
100%. Hey, we're going to get a quick break right here. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about player development, a little bit maybe about Doug and Northwest Florida State College's overall program mantra-ish type thing. And then we're also going to talk about the younger player development, because Doug and I had a conversation before about spin rates and throwing strikes. And we'll get into that after this. Welcome back. Thank you to our sponsor, Arden's Garden, Atlanta's source for juices, smoothies, and plant-based foods. Also, thank you to Showcase Apparel, the fit for your team. Remember to like, subscribe to the Georgia Showcase Baseball YouTube channel. Comment for a chance to win a t-shirt. You'll talk to that guy, Ben House, and he will work it out for you. Now, Doug, what would be, say, the program's mantra or the program's what it is like when you say the handful of things that we try to do are this at Northwest Florida State College?
Yeah, well, there's three things. Every organization should have a mission statement. I guess is the way it is what it's called. And so, ours is when we recruit our players, we'll talk to the player and the parent about three things. And one is developing them as a ball player, of course, through the things that are important, and we feel like they're important for development, which obviously includes the daily routine of practice and our conditioning and our strength program, and so from the mental standpoint of continuing to develop them as competitors. I think the mental part of baseball is very important to try to develop as much as the physical part, because you don't believe in yourself. If you're not able to bounce back from the negative and the failures in our sport, it's going to be really, really hard to be very good. So from the physical and mental standpoint, we're trying to develop them as ball players. We're trying to develop them as students. We are college after all, and we want them to have the best opportunity to go to where they can when they leave our program to a four-year university. And, they can't do that if they don't keep progressing in the classroom. So develop them as students is number two. And then number three, we want to try to develop them as just human beings. And we do that through getting involved in our community here locally, helping out whenever we can, getting involved into community events. And that's the neat thing about Niceville. We're the only college in town. Niceville also has one high school in town. And so the support that we get from for the school is really, it's kind of neat. Sometimes, you get lost in the big cities, but we're the only game in town. So there's a lot of support and interest, and we try to give back and develop these guys in our community and let them understand that, if they're bigger than themselves and they're ready to reach out and help others. And, those are things that are important in terms of their development. So those are the three things. That's our mission statement. And, we try to stick to that.
Ben, you get kids at a much younger age, right? You start out working with guys that are 8, 9, 10 years old, but the message is still always going to be the way you do anything is the way you do everything, right?
Yeah. Well, with me having younger kids, you have parents that has a vision of what Doug is talking about. When they bring them here, they're preparing their kids to one day play college baseball or play professional baseball. So when I get kids, I explain to the parents what the process is and what it takes to get to where Doug is, or what it takes to get to that next level. So that's one of the most difficult things that I have to deal with, is just having to get the parents to kind of pump the brakes a little bit and understand the development part. Because without the development part, they'll never reach Doug, or they'll never reach that 4-year school. They'll never reach a professional opportunity. So that's one of the challenges that I have with parents, is trying to compare apples to oranges. Instead of just working on what each individual kid needs to work on in order to get better each and every day. And that piece is always, we always talk about the training part. Kids need to come in and get trained and work on their game. So that's the biggest challenge that I have with having a younger group of kids.
Right. Okay. Quickly before we leave, you were talking to me about putting the cart before the horse, Doug. I got a couple of old pitchers and great pitching minds here in front of me. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly
Okay.
the
Specifically,
conversation. Set that up.
We're talking about youth development, 13, 14, 15-year-old pitchers, and we're worried about spin rates, and we're not worried about whether or not the mechanics are down in the strike zone and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the technology and the information that's out there today compared to, back when we played, it's night and day. And that stuff is tremendous. I mean, it's really valuable. There's a lot that you can gather from that. And so I'm not against any of it. I really think it's great. All right. But the thing that I'm seeing at a young age in amateur baseball is that sometimes we're getting caught up so much into the analytical part of the pitching in terms of, you mentioned spin rate or vertical break or, any of the stuff that that's out there that they can learn from. And I think sometimes we're getting a little bit lost in the fact that, well, number one thing we got to learn how to do is make sure we got a sound delivery that we can repeat, one that's going to hopefully keep me from having, arm injuries. Now that happens. I mean, that's just part of our game, but a fundamental pitch and delivery, and one that can, above all else, put the baseball in the strike zone at a pretty good percentage. And so, I think I mentioned to you during the course of our season, we have teams that come in and they kind of like to use our field and for practice and all. So we had this team come in from Michigan, and it's a really good program, and they have really good coaches. And I'm not trying to put them down in any way, but I was kind of watching their scrimmage, and they were scrimmaging each other on our field for their spring break and everything like that. And so I was watching them, and they've got their coaching staff behind the backstop there, and they got an iPad there in their hand, and they got the Rapsodo that's on the field, and they're gathering all this data. But in the meantime, the guys bouncing balls at 50 something feet or throwing it, way over the catcher's head. And I'm like, well, I mean, all the statistical and analytical stuff is great, but we're probably putting, like you said earlier, the cart before the horse. It doesn't matter if you can't throw the ball in the strike zone. And from an amateur standpoint, and I know Ben played pro ball, and I know some of the stuff was available a little bit then, probably not as much as it is now. But in the major league level, professional level, I mean, that stuff's very valuable because a lot of times, especially the major league pitchers, they don't have the issues of throwing the strikes. I mean, that's a given. You're not going to be in the major leagues for very long if you don't throw strikes. So adding the little bit to what they can learn about themselves through those analytics is critical. All right. But in an amateur level, I think we need to just, first and foremost, stick to the basics, which is trying to find a good sound pitch and delivery that you can repeat and put the ball in the strike zone. And, if you can master that, then you can move on to step two. But and it's not even the player's fault. I'm not blaming the young players. I mean, I have a son that's a junior in high school right now, and we have conversations all the time about what's really important right now. And he had a little bit better season this year than he did his last season, and the number one reason why he did is because he put the ball in the strike zone at a higher clip, not because the spin rate got better. Not because of vertical break or anything like that. All right. He had a better season this year, bottom line, because he threw the ball into the strike zone. And I think at the amateur level, that still needs to be number one. And, again, I think our youth kind of is misled and that's rightfully, I mean, they're looking at social media And if you look at any post that these players are posting in social media, they're talking about velocities and they're talking about all the analytical stuff. And, I tell mine, I said, you cannot post, number one, a couple things. You can't post anything about what you did unless, number one, your team wins the game. All right. If your team doesn't win, I don't care if you strike out 15, you're not putting it on social media. So, number one is your team must win the game. And then number two, you must post your strike percentage. And if you do that, then you can put all the other stuff you want on there. But those are the two criteria in our house.
It's always going to wind up coming down to the fundamentals of things, like you were saying, Doug. And Ben, what do you think about spin rates and all that?
Strike one. If you can't throw a pitch, whether it's a slider, fastball, change up, whatever it is, if you can't throw over strike one, then what are we doing? So just piggybacking off of what Doug was saying, just going back to the mechanical part of pitching. A lot of times you don't have to throw a lot. If you're pitching, just working on your mechanics, working on your release point, working on your delivery, working on your load. Finding something to aim at. To focus on throwing strikes. That's the number one thing with pitching, man, is being able to throw the ball over the plate. And then focus on some of those other things, but strike one is the most important pitch in baseball.
100%. It's always going to wind up coming down to the fundamentals. It's going to come down to where you are at contact in your swing. It's going to come down to your release point and things like that. Right, Doug?
Yeah, and you don't get that unless you just are working on it daily. And for a pitcher, that doesn't necessarily mean pitching on the mound daily. Ben alluded to that. There's just so many different things that you can work on that, you can't get on the mound every day and throw off the mound. I mean, that's probably not wise, but there's plenty of drills. There's plenty of, different pitch and delivery drills that you can go through that doesn't include necessarily releasing a baseball every day. And that's what you have to be willing to do. And, sometimes I see these guys, they'll show up on the weekends and, they'll throw in these tournaments and whatnot, and then they won't pick up a ball to the next tournament the next weekend. And if you want to be good at something, you just don't have to develop the work habits and attitude that you're going to go attack it daily. And that's how you get better at throwing strikes. Ben mentioned it as well that, back when he was young and he was throwing, me and you both know how hard he threw. And sometimes we didn't want to dig in that box because we didn't know where it was going. But, over his career, he's thrown enough now, like I said, just in his batting practice, he can throw it where he wants to. And, that's because of millions of repetition. And that doesn't mean it's all on the mound with max effort. I don't think the kids play enough catch. And, I'm saying just go out in the outfield and get a partner and play catch and, work on your delivery and flat ground. And that's a little less stressful for the arm and able to keep it healthy. But it also allows you to master things such like release points where you can throw the ball where you need to throw it to get strike one. And I agree with Ben 100%. That's the most important pitch in baseball, no doubt.
Going through like what you're talking about, playing every day, utilizing fungo, utilizing hitting off a tee, soft toss, long toss, things like that. Those are little ways to give yourself self-confidence, because the more you do something, the more you believe in yourself. And baseball is a game where you have to have self-belief, right? And I think I want to wrap on this because I've known you a long time, Doug, and nothing about your success surprises me, because you have always had a firm belief in yourself. And I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, Doug.
That. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We're going to wrap on that. Thank you very much, folks. Take care.